Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host, right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Drop some comments below. Let us know your thoughts.
We are fresh off of Monday Night Football, the double header. Make sure you have two screens in the living room because there's two games on at the same exact time during prime time. Which game did you watch? Because I watched the Bears, and I was trying to illegally stream the other game on my laptop.
I like how they did. I watched also the Bears. I thought that was the more interesting game. If I'm going to be completely honest, I have no interest in watching the Las Vegas Raiders embarrass themselves the rest of the season. I'm good off that. I do like how they have the ticker at the top. Like that is something that all like every single if you have more than one game going on, you should always have a ticker. That's something that pisses me off with broadcast. Fox especially does that. It's kind of bullshit.
All right, well, let's talk the Bears because Caleb Williams was awful in this game. I felt like the game plan was terrible. Caleb was not seeing wide open receivers all day. He's overthrowing. He's sending fastballs when he should be lobbing passes. It was it was pretty awful.
No, it was jarring. Honestly, it was very jarring to see how bad Caleb Williams has gotten. Like, I feel like there were certain games where it was like, okay, like I see the talent, I understand where he's going. This game, it just felt like there was nothing working for him. It felt like he wasn't seeing wide open guys. When he was seeing them, he was throwing like crazy throws that were nowhere in the stratosphere. The one that I was talking to you about off camera or off podcast, like was when on the first scoring drive that they had, they run like a wheel route and the receiver gets wide open and Caleb Williams just sails it by a mile. Like, and the receiver is looking around like, what is going on? And that was just the epitome of what Caleb Williams has been. Like, they've schemed it up, like they've got it perfect. Like, all you need to do is execute, and he just hasn't been executing. It's been crazy. And the excuses are just they keep coming. Oh, well, look at how bad the team was. But all this offseason, we had to hear like how this was the best situation that a number one pick has ever been in. They've had it all these weapons. They have the O line. Their defense is great. Where's all that? Where's that on now?
And I also feel like the Romo Odunze pick was a wrong pick. Like maybe he's gonna be good else. Like he could have been better elsewhere, or he's gonna still have a solid career. But they needed to go offensive line there or something else other than I mean, look at Justin Herbert with the Chargers. They went Joe Alt and they're playing I mean, they got blown out by the Bucks, but they're winning more games and Justin Herbert's looking better. And they ended up getting Lad McConkey later in the draft. So I don't know. I think it definitely was a reach to go Roma Dunze there. Kind of a luxury pick when you were in a spot to take luxury picks.
Yeah, you should have been building in the trenches. I think that's what we've seen successful teams do. And if we're going to be completely honest, yeah, like the Chargers got blown out, but like you feel better about the Chargers moving forward because they've built in the trenches. You understand what their bread and butter is going to be moving forward. They're trying to take the load off of Justin Herbert, whereas like with the Chicago Bears, it feels like they just added more pressure towards Caleb Williams. Like, well, we've got you all these receivers. Go out and make it happen. And it's like, okay, but
I
like
think
I'm a rookie. I'm seeing all of these defenses for the first time. I, you know, yeah, he had success in college. They retired his jersey at USC. He wasn't all that great in college. Like there was flaws in college. Really, he just got drafted because of the potential that you've seen in him.
yeah, I compared this. I don't know if I said this on the pod before, but I compared it to when all the NBA scouts agree that the number one pick is going to be this kid who is like a sophomore in high school and then he doesn't even like really play in college, but he's still the number one pick in the NBA draft like a year later. And so I think everyone determined like, listen, he's shown so many flashes. We just came off of like the craziest Mahomes hype, and we're looking for the next Mahomes. And we have this guy who does a lot of, he gets out of the pocket, he improvises, he has some highlights, some flash to him, and we see the throws that he can make. But I mean, we're seeing that he's just not comfortable in a pocket. He's holding onto the ball. He's not seeing the field at all. And I think right now, most of all, like his confidence is shot. And like kind of how we saw Bryce Young earlier in this year, like he's just not there mentally. and I don't know if he's going to be able to get it back because he was such a confident guy coming in, and that I feel like played into a lot of his game. And in the offseason, it's like the jury's out on Ryan Poles right now. I think people are split on him of, okay, he's done good moves, but he's also made some bad moves. Are we going to keep him? If we keep him, it's a huge task to hire a new coach, put in a new system, and put the team around Caleb Williams to, shine in this next year because you have Jaden Daniels looking really good, Bo Nix is looking good, Drake May's looking good, and then we haven't seen JJ McCarthy. Maybe he turns into something. Like it's gonna be a lot to if next year Caleb Williams is still playing like the fourth or fifth best quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, and there were rumblings during this draft process, and I think me and you both thought like, okay, like this obviously has to be coming from Jaden Daniels' team, but there were like Jaden Daniels truthers saying like 100% it should be him. He should be the guy. Yeah, it was an explosive season, but we're seeing what he can do like testing. We're having conversations with him. He's high level. We understand what we have. We think that he can be a guy in this league, and people were like pushing he should be the number one pick, and everyone was like, yeah, whatever. And we're seeing now, like there was some truth to it. And even with the Drake May, like Drake May is out there balling. He has literally nothing around him, and he's elevating the team. Yeah, they're still losing, but I mean, when you don't have any pieces, you kind of just do
You
what you
feel
do.
hope like with Drake May and like Bonet, like you feel hope. You feel the okay, we could be something. And with Caleb Williams, like you see it towards the end of the game where he got that play where he kind of broke out and he's trying to find something, throws a pass to the end zone to Keenan Allen and takes a shot. He goes on the sideline, he just flops onto the bench and he's kind of flopping around there like, yeah, I'm taking a beating. And he looks defeated. He's not really. I think I saw once on the sideline, he's like trying to talk to Roma Dunze, trying to figure things out. But for the most part, he just goes and sits back on the bench and he's just like, yeah, he's just shaking his head like, yeah, it's not going well.
Well, and that's another thing that's like weird. Maybe they shouldn't have got Roma Dunze. I don't know if you remember very early on. I think it was like week 2 or 3 when Rome's dad is out there with the all 22 showing that, oh, Caleb missed him here. He missed him here. He missed him here. And then you have your backup quarterback's dad, Tyson Bagent's dad, over there talking shit, saying that, oh, yeah, they wanted Tyson to be the guy. They want him to be it moving forward. You have DJ Moore that like, like moping around and doing all these things. Like, it feels like a hostile locker room for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and I think it's a little telling that there's not a lot of guys really in that locker room that come to the fence of Caleb. And I mean, it questions his leadership a little bit. I mean, I'm not in there, but you are like there is a lot of red flags going on in that locker room outside of Caleb. And DJ Moore, if you just look at this, what they did in this game specifically too, they're not throwing to DJ Moore other than screens.
Yeah.
Like, what is this like? This is like the game plan when Brock Purdy didn't have an arm. Like they're literally like this is Trey Lance over here. Like they cannot throw downfield. They are literally just throwing screens to their best receiver. He has to hate it there. I think he requested a trade after the season because we can't throw a go ball or a in route or anything else other than a screen to DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, again, that's very elementary. And I understand what they're trying to do. It's very much like, hey, this is our best player. We got to get him the ball any way that we can. But you got to be able to scheme it up a little bit better than that, just a straight up screen. And I think a lot of fans were very excited when they moved Thomas Brown into the interim head coach. They're like, oh, somehow we should be able to keep him to be the offensive coordinator. I think it's fine if we move away from that. I think it's fine to go ahead and just move off this guy.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, again, I see the reports for Ben Johnson come up that he's like really, if he doesn't see the perfect organizational fit, he's not coming to that team. And I don't know if he's gonna, take this Bears job. That would be the guy that I think could potentially turn this around. And if they give him the keys to the car, he could be the next Dan Campbell and like really flip things. But other than that, I don't see who comes in here and fixes all these problems.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very, very tough go of it for this franchise. They're gonna have to do they're gonna have to do a combo. I think they are gonna have to get rid of Ryan Poles because whoever they're gonna have to bring in is gonna have to completely shift the culture, and you can't do that with a guy who is attached to the majority of this roster like Ryan Poles will be.
All right, well, let's talk about the other Monday night game because I was sitting there trying to watch this awful game by the Falcons and the Raiders, and Desmond Ritter's rolling out there and can't throw down the field, can't do anything. Uh, and my buddy next to me is like, "Isn't it crazy? Do you think we're ever gonna see in our lifetime a good team in Las Vegas?" And I was like, honestly, like it might sound wild, but they don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. They don't have a good coaching staff. They don't have a good front office. I, are they going to be able to get free agents there? Like, and if they do, are they going to be in the right mindset? Because like, if I'm a free agent, I'm like, I got to go get a bunch of money and live in Vegas and like party all the time. Like, I don't see this team really turning around. And I know that there's the Shador of it, kind of the allure of Shador, and
Ooh,
I
that's
don't
good.
know. That's pretty good right there. I
That's
literally
pretty
that's off
fucking
top.
good.
The allure of Shador, that's the title of this fucking video. But there is that Shador kind of hanging over their heads. I don't think it's enough to turn this franchise around though. It's going to sell a lot of tickets, sell a lot of merch, but can this team where's the path for this team to be good?
I think there's 3 options that they can do if they take this draft pick moving forward, and each of them I see benefits for. The first one is going to be Shador Sanders, as you talked about. I think immediately you get a guy in there that can be the face of the franchise. It's going to get people excited. Realistically, we see that Las Vegas, if you go in there and you win, they will get hyped. The city will rally around you. Look at what they did with the Golden Knights. So we know, and they turned into Hockey Town,
The
USA.
Aces.
Like, so the Aces, yeah, people love the Aces there in Vegas. If you go in there and you win, that they will flock to you. If not, they are just gonna be like, all right, we have other shit to do. So there's that. You immediately get that bump. And who's to say within 2 or 3 years, if it does work with Shador, maybe Dion comes and coaches. Maybe Dion actually makes that jump from college to the NFL. That would be awesome. Again, that's another thing that's going to sell tickets. All right. The second one is Travis Hunter. You do that, you get an elite weapon on either side of the ball. Maybe you play them on both sides of the ball. That's, again, a fan favorite. That's something that the team can rally around. The third one is going to be less flashy, but I think it's overall going to be a better football move. I know you wasted some draft capital on that defensive line before, but you have an elite pass rusher sitting there at Penn State in Abdul Carter. You get a perfect complement to Max Crosby, and you go out there and you just make shit happen and you wreck shit for that the opposing offense. I think that's a great pairing with Max Crosby, and it's a guy that will go all 3 downs as hard as he can and get to the quarterback.
Yeah, and I know everyone wants the young quarterback that's going to come save the franchise, but if your roster isn't there, it's not really going to make a difference. I we just talked about Caleb Williams and how the roster we thought was there, but it's not. What if you do go defensive line there? You solidify a really strong pass rush, and you go get a Sam Darnold. You trade for Kirk Cousins. Like you make a move where you're like, okay, there's a guy that could potentially be here for 1 or 2 years, or even Sam Darnold's case, like 4 or 5 years, and like have solidify the quarterback position a little bit while we fill out the rest of the roster. And let's face it, this is not a good quarterback draft. If you don't get the number 1 pick and take Shador, you are not getting a quality starting quarterback in this draft. So,
Question: if you're Dion, do you block Shador to the Raiders?
no, because I think he's thinking we're gonna run Vegas. Like we're gonna so much marketing could happen with Shador. He's very flashy, like in a good way. Like he's marketable. In Vegas, there's gonna be billboards. Shador's face is gonna be everywhere in Vegas.
Okay, but just 1 pick later, if everything stays the way it is, just 1 pick later is the New York Giants. And you're not going to tell me he's excited about the New York Giants. We just seen him this past weekend go to New York and play catch on the street with Malik Neighbors. So we're not going to act like that. He wouldn't be excited to go to New York. One, it's a bigger market. Two, it's a completely rebuilding team, but they have a number one wide receiver, someone that you could get excited about. And we see what Shador can do. He will spam the shit out of RW1. Like he will just spam it. And so we know that Malik will be excited to have Shador there. And I think that's something that if you catch lightning in the bottle, you're not only running New York, but New York is a gateway to the rest of the country. That is marketability that is off the charts.
And I actually do think that him going to New York could turn that team around. Not saying it's a playoff team, but be better than the Raiders.
Look at how big Tommy DeVito got. Tommy DeVito was just Italian. That's it.
All right. Well, you guys let us know. Are you drafting Shador the Raiders? How are Raiders fans feeling down there? But we're gonna move on to some other games because I wanted to talk about. Let's just pull the Band-Aid off right now. The 49ers and the Rams. Put up 6 points. They put up 6 points against the Rams. Rams win 12-6. It's funny because the in the hunt for the playoffs visual still has the 49ers on there. There's this crazy scenario where they win out, everyone else basically loses out. The Commanders would have to not win another game this year, and the 49ers would get that last spot in the playoffs. But the season's over. It's been a mess. Deebo Samuel is complaining that he's not getting touches. He's getting community noted that he actually has the most drops on the team. And then he goes out there, does nothing, and drops a potentially game-winning touchdown. Where did it all go wrong for the 49ers this year? And is there hope?
There is, for this season, there's no hope. Like, this is it. It's done. Season's over. Congratulations. Hey, let's pat ourselves on the back. We made it through. Moving forward, obviously, there's going to have to be a major shift somewhere in this roster because it's a lot of highly paid guys. There's a lot of aging guys, and there's a lot of question marks as far as what direction are we going to take this in. And I think where this went wrong was right off the bat. Like, we had immediately question mark with Christian McCaffrey. When is he going to be back? We don't really know. They took it all the way up until a game time decision week 1, and then they put him on IR. Like, that was very ominous. And it's like, okay, what is going on here? Your first round draft pick gets shot. That's crazy. Like, it's just all these things that are adding up. And it's a team that had already been through a lot emotionally year after year after year, not getting over that hump and winning the Super Bowl. And it's like, how many times can you get through that and actually persevere, or it breaks you? And it broke this team this year.
Yeah, and what made me kind of irritated being a fan of the team is the players saying, like, coming into this game, like, oh, we kind of got the wake up call, and like last week we answered the bell, and now we're feeling really good, and it felt like we needed that kick to get going. And it's like, you should have had that kick a long time ago in the season. The fact that you think you could have, coasted in the season this long to then be like, well, let's turn it on now in order to get in the playoffs. Like, I feel like that was their attitude all season of, well, listen, we're going to win enough games to get in the playoffs, so let's not panic. And it kept not happening. And then close loss after close loss. I think Shanahan has been out coached almost every game that they've lost. And it just hasn't been working going into an offseason where they have to pay Brock. And now you have conflicting reports where one report kind of coming from the team is saying, well, we think he's going to take like 50 mil and be okay. Another report saying he wants top of the quarterback market. He's not going to budge. So now there's going to be another thing where the 49ers are going to go into training camp in this contract dispute with one of their best players. And that's what's really, I think, killed them in these seasons where, like, let's just get the fucking deal done and get everyone in the building. Like, we had to do it with Bosa. We had to do it with Debo. We had to do it with Ayuk. Like, at the end of the day, other than the Ayuk thing, which I think they won in that situation, but you didn't get him in camp, you're going to have to pay him. He's a quarterback. Just pay him and let's move on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm seeing dumbasses on Twitter being like, he's probably going to take, I think they'll hardball him and he'll take like 35 mil. You're a fucking stupid bastard.
Someone said 4 years, 100 mil.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. You're an idiot.
Maybe 2 years, 100 mil, maybe.
Yeah, you're so dumb. There's no if I'm Brock Purdy, there's no way I'm budging off of it. If Dak Prescott can get a mega deal, I beat Dak Prescott multiple times. Like if I'm Brock Purdy, I'm like, all right, well, that's my thing. I'm gonna beat Dak Prescott. Like I beat him on the field. I should beat him in contract. There's no reason that I should not be paid top dollar. If not, okay, then we'll go ahead and part ways. I'll shake your hand. It'll be an amicable split, but someone else is going to pay, and someone will pay Brock Purdy. That's the thing we've seen with all these guys that are very capable quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, again, off of Achilles, gets paid mega buku bucks. Like Dak Prescott, who's average, who's coming off of a playoff blowout, got paid big bucks. Like quarterbacks do not take pay cuts unless you're Tom Brady and you have a supermodel wife that is the breadwinner. You are not taking a pay cut. There is no way that he is taking 40 mil. There is no way that he is taking anything than top dollar.
Yeah, and I saw people try to argue like, well, Brock doesn't have any leverage because what other team would like trade for him or sign him and pay him over $50 million? I'm looking around like there's teams that need
Fucking
quarterbacks.
lot.
There's not a lot of quarterbacks on the market. And what you're gonna tell me that he doesn't have the leverage? What are the 49ers gonna do? Draft DJ Uiagalelei and be like, okay, let's
Yeah.
try it with this guy and see if he works out and be a franchise guy. Like, who are they gonna Carson Beck? Like, there's no one in the draft that they could possibly get that you're banking on being a starting quarterback in the NFL. And maybe they can franchise tag him and then go into these next 2 years and be like, all right, well, maybe there's a better draft that we can, try to figure it out. But no, I think he holds all the leverage because they're in a spot where they're in a win now mode and he is their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, they can't pivot unless they go and call Sam Darnold up again. They call Kirk Cousins. Like, unless they do that, they do not have a viable quarterback behind Brock Purdy. We've seen it. Like, we know Brandon Allen is not the guy. We know Josh Dobbs has a 3-game stint in him at most. Like, there is not another guy unless you go again and you make a lateral move and you go and sign someone else. Like, I just think that Brock Purdy would get paid top dollar from numerous teams.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the top teams right now. The Bills and the Lions had a crazy 48-42 game. Josh Allen, Jared Goff, both trying to get this MVP award, but Josh Allen looks like he is going to run away with it. Is this the Super Bowl preview? Was that the Super Bowl preview?
That's what I was just about to ask you. Like, we know that both teams in their own way, like, I think realistically, we've just seen the Bills beat the Chiefs this season. I got to see it in the play. Like, even though I don't think the Chiefs are all that great of a team, I have to see the Bills beat them in the playoffs, or someone has to knock them off before they even get to that point. I won't believe it until until the king is slain. You know what I mean? So that's the only hesitancy I see. I see the Lions just walking through anyone in the NFC right now. I think that they're just on fire. I don't see a whole lot of competition from the NFC side.
Yeah, I think the NFC is significantly weaker than the AFC. And it's been next man up mentality for the Lions. And it's really worked. Like the system that Dan Campbell has in place and the coaching staff he has, it doesn't matter who's coming in right now. They're picking the right guys to come off the street and they're performing. They had Jamal Adams coming off the couch making plays when he couldn't even play for the Seahawks. Like he was terrible. And he's in there making plays for them. David Montgomery is out for the season now. That's a huge blow. But I mean, you also have Jahmyr Gibbs there, and he's probably pretty fresh from splitting carries all season. So you can lean on him more. As long as this defense for the Lions keep holding up, which it has, I mean, yeah, they gave up a lot to the Bills, but that's the Bills. That's the best offense in the league, probably. I think this team is getting through the NFC. And, a couple things break their way. They could win that game against the Bills.
Yeah, it's little things here and there that really added up to the Detroit Lions downfall. But if you're a Lions fan, you don't walk away from that like, damn, they beat us again. It's like, damn, like we feel encouraged. We feel pretty good about that one. Damn, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, and Dan Campbell with the trademark, risking, controversial calls on his end. I think in the playoffs, you can't really risk it that as much as he's doing this in the regular season, but he has in the past and it didn't work out. Like onside kicking, like the going forward and fourth down constantly. Like I think in certain games you got to get points, you got to play a little safe, and he just doesn't have that in him. And that's what I think the coaching decisions could come back to bite him by being too aggressive.
Well, I mean, it came back to bite him last year against the 49ers. Like he was the reason that they ended up losing. Like he has just mistakes where he does get too aggressive. Like, he's like, all right, we're going to stomp your throat. And that's why you love him. But that's also what gets you in trouble. Like you can't constantly do these things and expect like, okay, it's not going to come back to bite me in the ass.
I have no problem in the regular season him doing like he just beat the Packers by throwing it on fourth down and getting, a really good completion. But in the playoffs, I lean more towards like unless you're trailing or it's a one score game that you need to get this, like take a field goal, live to fight another day and play it a little bit safe. Yeah. I don't know if he's probably not a big analytics guy, but
shut up, nerd.
All right, well, let's we got the last game we're going to talk about here, the Steelers and the Eagles. Eagles beat a good Steelers team, but Sirianni and the D-line coach getting into it on the sideline.
Well, he had to hold him back from Jalen Carter. Did you see that aspect of it? The D-line coach was protecting his guy. Sirianni trying to light up Jalen Carter. There's always something going on. Before we get into that,
this game was chippy.
Did you see afterwards to start his press conference, Jalen Hurts goes out there and is like, is that what you guys wanted to see?
Yeah.
Did you see his chain? He was icy, bro. What?
Time is dancing.
Glistening, bro. That was crazy. I just had to throw that out there. That was the wildest pendant I ever seen. He is icy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's always something with this locker room. Every time we go to talk about Eagles, it's never just hey, we won, guys. You're a pizza party. Let's go. Take tomorrow off. It's always like they're about to kill each other. And I guess you want to have like, what does John Middlecoff always say? Like you need it to be like 75% good guys, 25% like crazy people in the locker room. And it feels like that's like, it's more 50-50, like good guys and crazy motherfuckers in there. Like, I just don't know how much longer this team can keep winning and still not like what happens when they lose?
Yeah, that's what happened last. Like they will start to unravel because they're not winning on the power of friendship in there. They're winning on talent, and sometimes you got some people who don't get along when they're really talented. I mean, and Sirianni's not the guy who's going to be like, let me control the locker room. Like Mike Tomlin has had wild characters in there that we didn't even know were crazy. We're just learning how Le'Veon Bell is. And we didn't know anything about this when Mike Tomlin had them in his locker room. And Pete Carroll's the guy that was like, let me take a chance on a guy because our culture is set and we know he's going to conform to like our way of thinking. And the Eagles just they don't have it. Like Sirianni is going to talk shit to the fans. He's going to be crazy on the side. He's going to argue with his own coach. Like this could easily unravel. And on the other side, I think Russell Wilson has definitely gotten humbled by the situation from Denver. And this is a team that I think could make some waves in the playoffs. I seen they're saying George Pickens was mad because he couldn't be in a fight. And they're like, the SpongeBob meme where it's Patrick and SpongeBob running and Squidward's just watching outside. It's like George Pickens watching the Eagles and Steelers fight. But yeah, like we had to take it like that. Their best receiver wasn't in this game. Russell Wilson's been really good this year. The defense is really good. They didn't get blown out by the Eagles. They were kind of fighting in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It's all going to depend on the draw for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Depending on what matchup, I think that they are a viable contender. There's just some. I think 100% they could beat the Ravens. I think 100% they could beat the Ravens. I think it's just going to depend on how things shape out in the actual playoff picture and who they're going to be playing in the first round. I think from there, if they get a good matchup, momentum. I think it just snowballs.
Yeah, and the Eagles, I don't think they could beat the Lions, to be honest with you.
I don't think they could beat the Lions either. Again,
I don't know if they could beat the Packers.
this is a team I'm just very interested. Like, let's say they run the table, like good for them. But if they get a loss at any point in this, like the rest of this regular season, is that the straw that just breaks the camel's back when it comes to this team? Like, because right now they only have 2 losses. They're very much a winning franchise, a winning team right now this season, and there's so much turmoil in that locker room. What happens when like the wheels fall off and they actually lose? Does it make them come together and rally and bring them closer? Or is it like finally like, hey, fuck you, this is what I've talked about this entire season. Now you cost us. Like, is that something like that? Like that, I'm very interested to see if that
Here's the
happens.
matchup I'm dying to see in the playoffs. Commanders versus Eagles. Because Commanders would get up for that game. And I feel like the Eagles they still feel like big brother. Like, oh yeah, we're better than that squad. Commanders hang around. Jane Daniels makes some plays. Could be an interesting game for the Commanders.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I think I think the Eagles would like little bro them. I think that they would. I think that the Commanders are a year away from being a year away. I think that they have a piece at quarterback, but I just don't think they have a full roster that's on the talent level that the Eagles are.
Yeah, well, that's all we're gonna have time for the NFL today. Make sure you guys comment what you think, like, subscribe. We're here every week. We're gonna be talking every NFL game next week, so stick around.
Later.